Welcome to the deep dive. We take sources you send us, like today's 004 Rediscovering the Weight and Wonder of the Great Commission.pdf, and, well, we dive deep.
Right. We pull out the core insights, maybe some surprising angles, all aimed at getting you to that aha moment without the information overload.
Exactly. And this source, it's interesting. It takes the Great Commission, something, many people have heard a lot.
Very familiar.
And it really asks us to look again, to see it fresh.
Yeah, it goes through the familiarity.
Okay, so let's frame this up. The Great Commission, go therefore and make disciples. It can sound like, I don't know, a bit of a slogan sometimes.
It can, yeah, like something you hear but maybe don't fully process.
So our mission today is to push past that surface level. We want to dig into what it really means, maybe what we've missed, and understand the impact it's supposed to have, not just out there somewhere, but, on you, individually and in our communities.
And the source kicks things off with a really pointed question, actually. It asks, why did Jesus not just say, go and make converts, but go and make disciples?
Ooh, that's good. Simple question.
Simple, but the implications. Well, the source suggests the answer could really shift how you think about mission entirely.
Right. It definitely makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
So let's get into why that distinction is so massive. The source highlights how the Great Commission, because it is so familiar, it can almost feel optional, like a nice suggestion.
But it's not presented that way, is it?
No, the document is really clear. This isn't optional. It's a charge, a command even. And it demands way more than just nodding along.
And the source puts obedience right at the center. It says obedience isn't just like a result of mission. It's the actual heartbeat of it.
Okay.
And the key, it argues, isn't just going, but the depth of discipling. Actively transforming lives, transforming communities by living out Christ's authority.
Okay, so that jump from just evangelism, getting someone to say yes initially, to actually discipling them. That's huge.
It's a completely different level of commitment. It demands, well, real intentionality, doesn't it?
Yeah, and strategy, and really understanding what going and sending, empowering others truly means. The source implies maybe we miss that sometimes.
I think so. And given how fast the world is changing, the document really stresses the urgency here, prioritizing that deep discipleship. It feels critical right now.
It really does make you think personally, doesn't it? The source asks directly, when did you, the listener, last feel the weight of this? Not as, theology.
Right, not abstract.
But as a personal call, something demanding your response. It pushes back hard against just counting converts.
Yeah, it presents it as this urgent, active thing, making disciples, intentionally, strategically, out of obedience.
Which does make you wonder, have we maybe watered this down, treated it like a box to tick?
That's a fair question the source raises. Because the implications are huge. The mission field isn't just over there anymore.
Yeah.
It's everywhere in our daily lives.
Exactly. And the source argues our churches, our leadership, even our own lives are kind of crying out for this deeper understanding, a renewal of discipleship and mission.
It says the world needs more than, short-term fixes. It needs a sustained movement, one that nurtures faith long-term, cultivates real discipleship, and sends out leaders who can actually make a difference.
And what I found really compelling is how it emphasizes the listener's role, your role, like you're a key part of unlocking this potential. It even says this deep dive could give practical strategies for building that mission culture where you are.
And it's vital to grasp, as the source hammers home. This isn't just about bigger numbers.
Right, not just filling seats.
No, it's about multiplying transformed lives for a purpose much bigger than ourselves.
So it leaves us with that question hanging, what would it actually look like for your life, your church, to fully lean into the urgency of this commission?
It really sets the stage for exploring the depth here.
Okay, let's pivot to this concept the source uses, weight and wonder. It describes the Great Commission not just as, words we repeat, but as this profound invitation to immerse ourselves in God's whole redemptive story. It's bigger than just duty.
Yeah, it frames it as participating in this huge divine narrative, which is both epic and somehow deeply personal.
Right.
It challenges us to see every interaction, every conversation, even the small stuff, as a chance to reflect God's love. It's less about rules, more about aligning ourselves with that bigger purpose.
And it demands, the source says, real intentionality. Thinking about priorities, stepping out of comfort zones, engaging strategically but also soulfully.
Exactly, strategically and soulfully. The weight isn't just the tasks, it's the personal change it requires.
Yeah.
A fundamental reorientation towards, well, the eternal.
And historically, the source reminds us this wasn't an afterthought for the disciples.
No, it's the culmination after the resurrection. It was huge.
Theologically, it's presented as this living link connecting every generation back to God's grace.
That grounding in history and theology, it adds depth, doesn't it?
It does. It shows we're part of this long line of people who risked comfort for conviction, who stepped out.
The weight, then, is sort of twofold according to the source. There's the call to action, the urgency.
Yeah, the needs are obvious.
But also a call to depth, personal transformation. It's not just doing mission, it's being changed by it.
That weight affects everything, right?
Yeah.
Decisions, sacrifices, relationships.
Every encounter matters. And finding that balance, the strategy, the planning, the resources.
But also the real human connection, the authenticity.
Exactly. That balance is key.
But then there's the wonder part, which I love.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The source talks about these unexpected moments of grace.
Like a random conversation that shifts things, or just a simple act of kindness.
Right. Those moments that show God's hand at work in surprising ways. It changes how you see things.
It makes the everyday feel sacred.
Exactly. It transforms the mundane. Our lives become part of that bigger story, reflecting God's love.
Okay, let's tackle beyond a simple command. The source is really emphatic here. The go in the Great Commission isn't like a gentle nudge.
No, it carries the full authority of Jesus, victorious Jesus.
It's not a polite request we can ignore. It's a powerful mandate rooted in his victory.
And the source pushes us beyond just thinking about geography. Go means crossing boundaries of comfort, of complacency.
To engage with people who are hurting, overlooked, even right here.
Exactly. It's an outward journey, yes, but also this deep inward transformation. It changes priorities, identity.
So understanding the weight of go means seeing it not as, occasional acts.
Right, not sporadic.
But as a deliberate, lifelong thing. It needs focus, strategy.
Purposeful engagement, the source calls it. Making the message relevant without watering it down. And yeah, often personal sacrifice.
Theologically, it highlights discipleship as this ongoing dynamic relationship.
One that naturally pushes us out into the world with hope.
And practically, it means things like innovative outreach, maybe using technology.
Yeah, and holistic discipleship, mind, body, spirit. Seeing community transformation as a team effort.
So embracing go redefines success, doesn't it?
Totally. Away from just wealth or status.
Towards lives touched, transformations inspired.
Exactly. Building a legacy of compassion, justice, hope, that lasts.
So really digging into go, it shifts the whole thing from maybe a familiar phrase
to a radical, life-changing mission. It's about stepping out, embracing his authority, living intentionally, and being willing to pay the price.
Okay, now, beyond the surface of conversion, this is critical. The source says when we hear Great Commission, we often jump straight to making converts, getting that initial decision.
Right, the starting point.
But the mandate, it argues, is so much bigger. It's about the whole transformative journey of discipleship.
And it unpacks the word disciple, mathetes.
Yeah.
In Greek, it meant more like an apprentice, right?
Yeah, actively involved, learning by doing, by living alongside the master.
So Jesus wasn't just asking for verbal agreement. He was inviting people into this ongoing process, total transformation, aligning your whole life with kingdom values.
So conversion is the start, not the end. That's clear.
Definitely not the destination. Discipleship is lifelong, deepening belief, refining it, living it out.
It's moving from believing that to living as if.
Exactly. Embodying compassion, justice, humility, in the everyday stuff.
And it engages everything, heart, mind, soul. Theology isn't separate from practice.
No, they're intertwined. And theologically, it makes us rethink what being a follower means, not just believing, but actively participating in God's plan.
Personal transformation and communal responsibility.
Both. And the source give practical ideas for this lifelong formation, like intentional mentorship.
Both giving and receiving.
Right? And everyday discipleship, weaving faith into daily life. Community engagement, living out values together, and a reflective practice for renewal.
The example it gives, the family. That started with simple things, right? Shared meals, honest talks.
Yeah, and it rippled out, became community forums. It shows how making disciples isn't just individual. It can renew a whole community.
Let's look at the source of command and transformation. The source grounds everything in Matthew 28:18. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me.
That's the bedrock, it argues. That's what turns a suggestion into a command we can't ignore.
And the nature of that authority, it's not human authority.
No, it's rooted in the resurrection, a victory over everything. It's divine, absolute, unchallengeable. The resurrection validates it all.
So when you really grasp that authority, obedience isn't just a good idea.
That's the natural response.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's loyalty. It's aligning with the one who has all authority.
Not based on our feelings or resources, but his power.
Right. And the source brings in missional hermeneutics. Again, reading the whole Bible story is leading up to this.
So Jesus' declaration of authority isn't random. It's the climax of God's plan.
Exactly. And the Great Commission is the logical next step, our part in fulfilling God's purpose.
So obeying the commission is basically declaring our faith in his authority, showing his power is real now.
Precisely. Every act of discipleship, outreach, compassion, it affirms his lordship. It makes mission essential, not optional. It defines being a follower.
And living under that authority requires more than just agreeing.
Much more. It demands active, intentional discipleship, like a soldier following orders, but driven by love and loyalty.
It involves personal change, living out the teachings,
Building community, nurturing and equipping each other.
and strategic outreach, using modern tools effectively.
Yes. And the source argues that by obeying, we reject apathy. We choose engagement. We show his authority as our guide.
The example of the church, transforming because they grasped this authority.
Yeah, leading to feeding programs, community centers, justice work, all flowing from obedience to his authority.
Okay, let's build on that with the authority behind the call, Christ's sovereign reign.
Yeah.
The source paints the commission as a royal decree from the King of Kings.
Backed by that unchallengeable authority, all authority.
And that authority isn't abstract. It's tied to the resurrection, his dominion over everything.
It's not just a past event. Its significance is eternal. It confirms his power, his lordship. It makes the command binding.
So when we really get that, obedience isn't just a good deed.
No, it's essential loyalty, aligning with the divine strategy. No room for our own agendas if they conflict. It's stepping out in faith, trusting the King.
Trusting he's leading and empowering.
And that missional reading of Scripture are all points here. The whole story culminates in Christ's authority in this commission.
So recognizing his reign means accepting accountability, the cost of discipleship.
Yes, prioritizing God's agenda over ours, living intentionally. It's not about comfort. It's about faithfulness, no matter the cost.
But that understanding isn't just heavy, right? It's empowering, too.
Absolutely. Knowing the King is with us, working through us, it turns challenges into opportunities. Setbacks are met with confidence in his presence.
And the practical strategies again, intentional discipleship, mentorship.
Community-focused outreach, starting locally.
And using modern tools wisely. Adaptive innovation.
Right. And the example of the church becoming this vibrant hub, acts of kindness, social programs, all flowing from understanding his reign.
Now, the heart of discipleship in the Great Commission, it's clear. Discipleship isn't a one-off thing.
No, it's a lifelong journey. Transformation, mentorship, active engagement.
And to make disciples, it's an active verb, isn't it?
Very active. Yeah. Intentional formation. Nurturing faith, deepening it, like that master craftsman guiding an apprentice.
Plus ongoing mentorship, guidance, encouragement woven into life.
And baptism fits in here too, not as an endpoint, but as the public start of the journey.
Within the community.
Exactly, within that supportive, accountable community.
And Jesus' model was relational, wasn't it? Deep investment in a few.
Yeah, showing a life devoted to God through intimacy, not just big crowds. It modeled vulnerability, trust, learning through watching his life, not just hearing words.
Encouraging replication.
And central is teach them to observe all I commanded, not just know, but do.
Integrating teachings into every part of life.
Right, which impacts character and community health. It redefines success away from self.
Towards compassion, justice, building communities that reflect kingdom values.
Precisely. And the practical applications for today. Mentorship programs, community initiatives beyond church walls.
Digital discipleship, using tech well.
And just embracing it as a lifelong path. Continuous learning, growing.
The example of the Father. Starting small, sparking ripples.
Yeah, shared meals, honest talk. Evolving into community forums, transforming the town. It shows the power of embodied discipleship.
Okay, the essential partnership of going and sending. This is a really important balance the source highlights.
It is. Mission isn't just one thing or the other. It's two sides of the same coin, going and sending. And sending is just as vital.
So going isn't just moving far away.
Not necessarily. It's stepping into the unknown, engaging actively, adapting the gospel message, crossing barriers, sharing faith authentically.
And sending is the support system.
Exactly. Prayer, finances, encouragement, practical help. The local church is crucial here, the sending base. Nurturing, equipping, sending out.
So the Great Commission implies this whole ecosystem, right? Going and sending, working together.
Absolutely. Holistic transformation needs both. The source uses the army metaphor. Frontline soldiers need the support structure. Goers need senders.
So cultivating a missional culture means building that sending base.
Prayer warriors, financial stewardship, encouragement, mentorship, care for those who go.
But going can also be local, everyday stuff.
Definitely. Acts of service, sharing faith in your own community, local outreach, interfaith dialogue. It's not always about packing a suitcase.
The example of the suburban church, focusing on both, sending people out and building local support.
Yeah, creating that vibrant missional culture through that dual focus. It shows how interdependent they are.
Let's talk about the kingdom lens, beyond the narrow view. The source argues our view of mission can sometimes be too narrow, maybe just focused on individual salvation.
Right, which is crucial, obviously, but the kingdom lens broadens the picture. It encompasses the restoration of all things.
So the kingdom isn't just future hope, it's now.
It's a present reality, breaking in. Through acts of justice, mercy, love, mission becomes about inviting God's presence into every part of life, healing society's wounds.
It's about restoring wholeness.
Yes. Integrating spiritual renewal and social transformation. Evangelism meets social justice, community building, addressing root causes, not just symptoms.
And this kingdom lens is rooted in Scripture, God's kingdom as justice and love.
Consistently. It challenges a simplistic view of salvation and pushes for a fuller understanding of God's redemptive work.
That missional hermeneutic, again reading Scripture, focused on God's plan to restore everything.
It helps to see our daily actions, big or small, as part of that divine strategy. Dismantling injustice, creating spaces where the kingdom can flourish.
So engaging communities means local outreach for immediate needs.
Yes, and advocacy for systemic change, plus integrated discipleship models that encourage living faith out everywhere.
The example of the church partnering with nonprofits, addressing homelessness, unemployment.
Right. Sharing the gospel and providing job training, mental health support, resulting in both spiritual and social renewal. That's the kingdom lens in action.
Okay, critical point. From passive awareness to active engagement. The source is clear. The Great Commission isn't just something to know about.
No, it's a call for every believer to get involved. Actively participate. Moving the church from abstract belief to concrete kingdom actions.
A missional culture, then, is rooted in making disciples.
And reflects that bigger kingdom vision. Restoring justice, peace, wholeness.
And the source gives practical steps for churches, like prioritizing mission in preaching and teaching.
Regularly integrating it, making it core, and fostering prayer dedicated time for the unreached.
Missional small groups, engaging locally, praying globally.
Yes, and financial support, intentionally budgeting for mission. Mobilizing people, identifying, training, mentoring potential missionaries.
Building partnerships, collaborating for greater impact.
Strategic partnerships, yes. And celebrating mission, sharing the stories, the impact, to inspire more engagement.
So building this culture isn't a program, it's a journey.
A continuous journey, reshaping the whole life of the church.
Now, the imperative of obedience in a world waiting. This brings back the urgency.
Absolutely. The commission isn't historic, it's present. Urgent. Billions haven't heard.
The source asks us to consider the world's condition without hope, waiting for transformation from poverty, injustice.
It's a stark reminder. And the theological foundation for obedience, Christ's authority, that makes go an imperative.
Obedience aligns us with God's eternal purpose, right? Participating in his story where every act matters.
And practically it means strategic, thoughtful engagement, contextual evangelism, community partnerships.
Mobilizing resources too, prayer networks, funds, training.
All of it. And celebrating the impact, seeing lives changed, reinforces why obedience matters.
So obedience isn't a burden, it's a privilege, a responsibility.
Both. Moving beyond knowing to doing. Active, compassionate engagement. Being light in a waiting world.
Let's get personal now. The individual's role in cultivating a culture of go, moving from knowing to doing, requires intentional practices.
Definitely. The source lists several things individuals can do, like praying intentionally.
Yes, for the unreached, for missionaries, for opportunities, and educating yourself, learning about cultures, needs.
Looking locally, too, finding opportunities right where you are to show Christ's love, giving generously to support mission work.
Being ready to share your story, knowing the word.
Yeah, preparing your testimony, and prayerfully considering if you should go short-term or long-term.
And for churches, creating a missionally engaged congregation, making the Great Commission part of the church's actual identity.
Embedding it. Again, practical steps. Prioritizing mission in teaching.
Preaching the Bible missionally, highlighting the kingdom.
Right. Developing strong mission partnerships, long-term relationships. Creating opportunities for short-term trips, exposing people.
Investing in leaders who can mobilize others. Creating discipleship pathways.
Crucial. And allocating resources strategically, a significant budget portion for mission. Fostering a culture of prayer for the nations.
Regular prayer times, specific events.
Yes. And self-assessment churches honestly looking at their engagement and acting on weak spots.
Now bringing it together. From knowing to doing. Embracing the Great Commission as a way of life. It's a continuous journey, isn't it?
Absolutely. Embodying Christ's words daily. Moving from just acknowledging it to actively living it.
Jesus' command is tied to the kingdom's reality, extending his reign everywhere.
Work, home, community, globally. It invites us to see our whole life as a mission field. Transforming systems, not just converting people.
And making disciples is that lifelong growth, learning, mentorship.
Shaping believers who make other disciples. Affecting how we work, how we run our homes, how we serve our communities, how we view global needs.
That partnership of going and sending is key. The church as the sending base, equipping, supporting.
Through prayer, finances, care, and the urgency. In a world needing hope, every moment is an opportunity to participate in God's mission.
Okay, let's get really practical with actionable insights. From awareness to action, the core question is, are we really living this out?
Beyond just agreeing with it, yeah. So personal assessment. What's my role? Go, send, local, commit to engagement, prioritize prayer, reflection.
Like Rachel's story moving from awareness to serving refugees.
Exactly. And for churches, evaluate the teaching, the equipping, the partnerships, the overall culture.
Like the small town church strategically shifting towards global mission.
Then strategic planning. Clear vision, goals, actions, resources, evaluation, and accountability, regular check-ins, individual and leadership to ensure follow-through.
Like the urban church adjusting outreach based on feedback. The bottom line is radical obedience, right?
Moving from knowledge to active participation in God's huge mission.
The source then gives us these great discussion prompts, questions to wrestle with.
Yeah, designed to challenge assumptions, provoke deeper thought, like shifting from mission as choice to mission as mandate.
Or how you prioritize time, money, energy if the commission is central. The difference between evangelizing and transforming cultures.
Assumptions about going local versus global. Emphasis on sending versus going in your church. Tangible actions this month.
How the church budget reflects mission commitment. Focusing only on sending for a month, what would that reveal? Overcoming fear of failure.
Recalibrating if the cost feels too high. One bold step this year. Envisioning your legacy related to the commission.
How would the church change if every leader lived this way? Shifting success metrics to discipleship and engagement.
Practically differentiating converts and disciples. Church is sending base versus launching pad. Initiating partnerships, embracing both going and sending.
Lots to chew on there.
Definitely. And then there are the reflective exercises for self-awareness.
Like looking back at a leadership decision through a discipleship lens. Evaluating your view, is it for all or a few? What if you shifted focus to making disciples?
Identifying where the kingdom vision is overlooked in your leadership. Learning from admired leaders. Tracking decisions to balance going sending.
Reframing a challenge through the kingdom's present reality.
Good. Deep stuff. And finally, those actionable to-do list exercises. Super practical.
Like capturing all mission tasks, defining the next physical action, organizing by context, priority.
Setting a weekly reflection time. Identifying one daily mission task and advanced ones for leaders. The mental bandwidth audit, task to legacy thinking, the priority filter.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, the big takeaway seems clear. The Great Commission isn't just a nice verse.
Not at all. It's this urgent, authoritative call to discipleship. and it should touch everything: our lives, our communities.
And that first question, converts versus disciples. Hopefully after this, the significance feels, well, heavier, deeper.
Yeah, much deeper. So we really hope you'll reflect on your own role. How can you move from just knowing this stuff to actively engaging, locally, globally?
And thinking about all that weight, but also the wonder we discussed. Here's a final thought to leave you with. What's one specific, concrete action you'll take this week to live out the Great Commission more intentionally? As a way of life, not just an idea.
We'd love to hear your reflections on that. Maybe it sparks the next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.